Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to today's lesson on macromolecules. So previously, chemists believed that some chemical compounds were only found in living things, and we called this organic chemistry. We soon realized that chemical principles of living things were no different than what was in non-living things. And this term, organic chemistry, is still used, but it is referred to the study of all compounds that contain carbon. So this is the chemistry of carbon, and carbon is so unique that there's an entire branch of chemistry, organic chemistry, devoted to its study. Carbon has 4 outer electrons, so we can have 4 covalent bonds being formed, and carbon can easily bond with hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, phosphorus, nitrogen, and sulfur. And since carbon can join with other carbon atoms, it can form extremely long chains and very complex structures. Now our macromolecules. Many of these chemical compounds found in living organisms are so large that they are known as macromolecules. And these are made from smaller molecules, thousands or hundreds or even thousands of them, sometimes millions. Molecules are put together to form macromolecules by a process called polymerization. Monomers, meaning one molecule, are individual molecule units, and when they join together they can form polymers, or many units. We have 4 major types, which is carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. So carbohydrates are sugars. You can find them easily in pasta, in bread, starches, cellulose, and glycogen. They are the main component of many types of food, particularly sugar and starches, and they're made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in a 1 to 2 to 1 ratio. So here's our example. We can have CH2O, C5H10O5, or C6H12O6. Living things use carbohydrates such as sugars, starch to store energy. Plants and some animals use carbohydrates for structural purposes as well. Our breakdowns are into monosaccharides, mono meaning one and saccharide meaning sugar. So this is a single sugar molecule, and this can be glucose, galactose, or fructose. And when we get 2 of those sugars linked together, we get a disaccharide, di meaning 2. So we can get sucrose, which is glucose and fructose, and then we can get long chains making a polysaccharide, which can give us starch, cellulose, or glycogen. Our next one are lipids, which is made from 3 fatty acids and a glycerol. And these are our oils, our fats, and waxes, but all of them are lipids. And these are long-term energy. So we don't break them down until we really need to, because this is long-term. And this is the important part of the cell membrane. It's mostly made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, but they are not soluble in water. They are formed by putting the glycerol together with 3 fatty acids, unless you're a phospholipid, which then it's 2 fatty acids and a phosphate group. Each carbon is held together by a single bond, and this is called a saturated fat. If there's a double bond in there, it is unsaturated because it can no longer be saturated with hydrogens as much as a unsaturated, or it can't be saturated with hydrogens, unlike a saturated fat. So once again, if our 2 carbon atoms are held together by a double bond, that is called unsaturated because there is less hydrogens that can attach to it. And if it contains more double bonds, then it's polyunsaturated. You can see these on food labels, and saturated is often solid at room temperature, comes from animals, and unsaturated is in your oils, so corn oil, olive oil, vegetable oil. All right, nucleic acids. These are the macromolecule composed of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, and phosphorus. Nucleic acids are polymers made up of many monomers or nucleotides. They're made up of 3 parts, which is a sugar, a phosphate group, and a nitrogenous base. Nucleic acids store your genetic information, and there are 2 different types of nucleic acids. There's DNA, which is deoxyribonucleic acid, and RNA, which is ribonucleic acid or ribose nucleic acid. So here you can see our bases. We have cytosine, guanine, adenine, and uracil for RNA, and then cytosine, guanine, adenine, and thymine for DNA. We'll get more into this when we get to the DNA part of our lessons. Proteins contain nitrogen plus carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. If you remember the video we showed earlier, a couple classes ago, you would have seen CHO, CHON, CHOMP. This is the CHON, this carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. They are made of polymers of amino acids. We have 20 different amino acids, and we do not make all of them. We have to get them from what we eat. So this is why it's really important if you're vegetarian to eat something that's high in protein, or to have something that's protein, like a pill that has proteins in it. When many amino acids are linked together, we form these long chains that fold into a 3D shape, and that's very important to their function. If they can't fold correctly, we can't use them. Proteins can help carry out chemical reactions, pump small molecules in and out of cells, and aid in cell movement. Some structural proteins, we have hair, fingernails, skin, muscles, cartilage, ligaments, and your eye. Chemical proteins, this can be in your red blood cells, which is the protein hemoglobin, which carries oxygen, or in your white blood cells, which create specialized proteins called antibodies, which can neutralize toxic substances.